Frank, who has a number of information as a statistician about what's been going on in the past, and he's trying to prevent those things from happening again. And Urson Russell is right there to make this happen for us so we get accurate election results. Today, just shortly after the election, Urson will be speaking to that, and he has a great deal of information, and he's going to be speaking for about 45 minutes, and I'm going to turn over the microphone to Mr. Urson Russell.
Thank you, sir. I hope it doesn't feel like 45 minutes when we're done here. We'll go through some information pretty quick. My name's Urson Russell. First of all, I want to hear from everybody here who loves this country. Let's make some noise.
Yeah!
We've had an amazing week. This could be a totally different meeting right now. If things had turned out
Oh my gosh,
differently
that's
than
right.
this past week.
Very good point.
So, thank God we're here. We still
Excellent
have
point.
challenges and a lot of work to do, but amen, we've got someone that gives us a chance at the top, and now it's our job to start to squeeze up from the bottom, right? My name's Urson Russell. I live in Orange County in Costa Mesa, and in 2020 I woke up like so many people, and so I've dedicated the last 3 years of my life since October 2021 to traveling up and down the state to 24 counties. I've done a lot of events with Dr. Douglas Frank that Scott just mentioned. Dr. Frank has been to 48 states across the county. He was called to Pennsylvania in December after the elections, analyzed their voter rolls, found that they had 765,000 more votes cast than there were even voters in the state in Pennsylvania. And the state
Sounds like
legislature
Pennsylvania.
said, well, that's horrible. We need to fix our voter rolls. And he went, no, what are you talking about? You need to decertify the election. And so they didn't, and they went and hired a company to go and fix their voter rolls, and a week to 10 days later, after they did the deal with this company, Mark Zuckerberg bought the company. So, that was his red pill moment in December 2020. He is home 3 to 5 days a month to see his family in Ohio. And other than that, he is traveling nonstop, meeting with grassroots, with secretaries of states, attorneys generals, and other elected officials. So I've been very fortunate to get a rapid fire education on our election systems, not only around the country, but in the state of California here. And he's been here in our state more than any other state. I think it's, Nettie, about 100 events or speaking engagements?
Over 110,
Yeah.
all up and down California, not including the
So it's been amazing. I like to call this first slide my Spartan roar, because I'm a little pissed off, I'll be honest with you. Look at what they've done to our kids and hypersexualizing them, and this adult gender ideology that they're trying to impress on young minds. Our toxic food supply, trying to make us lifetime customers of Big Pharma. The way that our government is being run, they're swearing oaths to the constitutions, and they never even taken a class on the Constitution to even know what they swore an oath of office to. And these things have really hit me over the last few years, and let me tell you, the first 6 months was a lot of frustration as I'm starting to really learn and see this stuff, and so I've decided to turn that frustration into action. And so over the last 3 years, looking at our election system in Orange County, I've become intimately involved in it. In this election cycle, I've been in our Orange County ROV since October 23rd. Every day of the week, 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'm going to continue to be there until November 18th, because right now in Orange County, they're still counting and processing ballots, just like they are in LA County and San Diego County and a lot of our biggest counties across the state. It is so important for us to experience and know and see for ourselves how our election systems are run. All of the different processes, the people, ballots moving everywhere, chain of custody documents, machines, equipment, and facilities.
Right.
And if we don't get to see that, how it's actually being run, then how can we really affect change? So those are a couple things that I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to go over just quickly, for those of you that haven't seen me before, quickly just the 4 major challenges that we have in California. Number one is our highly concentrated population. We have 58 counties in California. Your lovely county in LA County here accounts for 1/4 of the entire state.
Right.
11 of our 58 counties is about 75% of the state. We have one county that doesn't even have 1,000 registered voters in it. 12 of our counties don't have 15,000 registered voters in any one. And when we take the bottom 28 counties that we've got our population in California, LA County is still bigger than 28 of our smallest counties combined. So we have this extraordinary imbalance in our highly concentrated population. And why is that an issue? This was from the 2022 election where we had 8 different races, governor, lieutenant governor, and so forth. And so we went and analyzed, out of our 58 counties, we have 32 that we would call Republican leaning. Why? Because in a statewide election, more Republican votes turn out than Democrat votes, right? And then we take our 26 Democrat leaning counties, and we look right here that from that last statewide race, about 2.4 million more votes that need to come out for Republicans in order to compensate for the amount of Democrat votes. Well, in 2020, President Trump lost this state by over 5 million votes. Has anybody seen where it's at right now? He's right between 2.5 million and 3 million.
Wow.
So, if he didn't win, and in 4 years, we've scraped back over 2 million votes from the Democrats, who here thinks that's a success? That's a major success, and
Okay.
it shows that the pendulum is swinging in the right direction in our state, even though on a lot of levels, we still feel like there's a long way to go, right?
Yeah.
We still have this very supermajority in the state legislature, and we'll see where all that goes. Number 2 is the Voters' Choice Act and VoteCal. VoteCal is like your bank account being connected to your ATM card. And what's happened since 2016 when both of these were passed is now our state and our county's voter rolls are centrally controlled by the state. If you go to the DMV and register and update your driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote in California unless you opt out of that program. Now, if that happens and you go register to vote, that information goes to the state and now is pushed down to the county through the VoteCal system. Same thing when someone changes their address. That all goes through the USPS, through the state system, and down to the county. Now, your county has no direct interaction with the USPS. They have no direct interaction with the DMV. So they don't have even any way to audit and verify that these changes coming from the state are true and correct. Now, we've proved that across California from April of this past year through July. We knocked on over 3,000 doors. We knocked on over 5,000 doors across California, and we confirmed about 2,400 records by speaking with people that live at these addresses, that the voters that are registered to vote there no longer live there and have moved out of state. Yet they still were all on the voter rolls to get ballots mailed to them in our current election in 2024. Well, why? Well, because the USPS sends a permanent change of address to the state sends a temporary mailing address change to the county goes, okay, this is a temporary mailing address, and here's the process I follow. So the accountability of our voter rolls is not in the hands of our actual counties. And it'd be nice if we could get rid of the VoteCal and go back to something where the counties are in control and are routinely reporting up to the state so they can stay in compliance with federal requirements. The Voters' Choice Act is what started everyone getting a ballot in your county. That was in 2016. Counties started using that in the 2018 elections. COVID hit in 2020. Everyone got a ballot, remember that? 2021 recall, everyone got a ballot. And then from there, they passed AB 37, Assembly Bill 37, which has now given us our current election system that we're working with today. AB 37 over here, as you can see, this is where we're at now. We have 29 days of early voting that we have in our elections. Most of that, exactly, thank you. Most of that is vote by mail early voting. In-person voting starts 11 days before elections, and then there's more vote centers that open 4 days before election. In addition to that change, we can legally accept ballots that have been accepted after election day that were properly postmarked by election night at 8 p.m. We can legally accept those up to 7 days after Election Day. So we have a 36-day election season in California that's been created by this bill here, AB 37. The other issue that it's had is from 2016 to 2022 only. I haven't even calculated our last two elections, the primary and the general. We've had 75 million ballots that were unused in this state, in our state elections. What's an unused ballot? You decided to vote in person and didn't use your vote by mail ballot. You maybe didn't get a chance to cast your ballot. There's a wasted ballot. A ballot came to your address for someone that doesn't live there. There's a wasted ballot. So 75 million ballots from 2016 elections to 2022 that we've wasted. And so I have a couple of graphics here to show that. This is the clouds down here. There's ballots. There's the plains at 7 miles high. And then here's space at 62 miles. And that stack of ballots is almost 60 miles high for the entire state. Let's look at this another way. Who has been to Las Vegas and seen the Stratosphere Hotel out there? It's 1,149 feet. Imagine if you were walking down the Vegas Boulevard and you saw a stack of ballots as tall as the Stratosphere Hotel. I mean, wouldn't you just be like, oh my God, what a bunch of waste. To equal the stack of ballots that we have wasted in California, you would need to stack 271 of those hotels on top of each other. That is the kind of waste we have from these policies that have been passed by our state legislature.
Disgusting.
So how do we change that? Well, we need to do a ballot initiative to get rid of all this junk.
Yes.
But are we going to say, well, this is for election integrity. This is to stop fraud. How about this? All these ballots are killing too many trees. You think we might get some support from an ideology that doesn't necessarily agree with us? And we can package that message up and deliver that, and then make sure. You have a question? I'm going to do Q&A at the end.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Well, you mentioned that, but the way they think, they'd turn it around and make it all electronic voting, and you wouldn't have a paper trail for anything. So you got to be careful about
What you ask.
how you address that issue.
So I don't think, at least right now, that that's legal, so they'd have to change those laws in California. But you do bring up a good point. They seem to pass them fast and quick with complete control of the state legislature and the executive branch. So these ballots here that are going out to everybody, going to people that don't live here, this is just creating mass amounts of waste, of process, and as well as real estate for people that might want to go and do something nefarious in our elections. Number 4, so that was everyone gets a ballot. Number 4 is centralized control. If you didn't hear what happened in Shasta about a year and a half ago, the County Board of Commissioners, the best one we have in the state, is actively trying to get rid of their voting machines and go back to all hand counting at the local precinct level. They only have 70,000 people in Shasta County, and so the state immediately passes a bill that says any election in California that's more than 1,000 voters, you shall use voting machines in order to tabulate your results. So here's the state using our tax dollars to hire a bunch of attorneys to write bills to get passed in a one-sided legislature to put their thumb on Shasta County. That's central control. Number 2, Huntington Beach down there, they're a charter city, which Torrance is. I'm not sure about Lomita-Palos Verdes. No, not charter cities?
No.
So they're a charter city, and that gives them special authority under the California Constitution, Article 11, for local governance. And one of the things it says is they have all right to run their own elections. It also says that the charter supersedes against laws that are in conflict with what the city charter is. So the great thing about a charter city is the city council doesn't just wave a magic wand and go, well, we're just going to change everything today. The people, the citizens, have to vote on changing the charter. So Huntington Beach proposed an amendment to say we want ID in our local elections, that we want to have monitored video surveillance of all the drop boxes. And Huntington Beach used to have 111 local precinct vote centers before we went to the Voters' Choice Act. Now they have 13. So they said we want to bring back 20 more options for people to vote in our city. It was passed by over a 7% majority. Immediately the state sues Huntington Beach. They've now passed Senate Bill 1174 that says it's illegal for any city, including charter cities, to require ID in your elections. So here's the state again, passing legislation, putting their thumb on a city and threatening them with lawsuits because they want to go and do what's constitutionally allowed to run their own elections. Now Huntington Beach is fighting this, and when it gets to the Supreme Court, they'll win. Because the language in the California Supreme Court is crystal clear as far as their ability to run their own elections. So if the state knows this, why did they go and sue Huntington Beach? It's to make the other cities be concerned about being sued as well, and to kind of maybe step back and say, well, let's see what happens with Huntington first, and then we'll go make a change. So in Orange County, we have 9 other charter cities besides Huntington Beach, and that's going to be our focus come after this election season, is to start to find the charter cities that are there. We're going to ask them to do what Huntington Beach has done, and if not, then we're going to go and find out how to get representatives into those positions of city government so that we can actually create the same thing and combine resources and fight and push back against the state. Because the first city, and I think, George, you guys maybe know this, that sticks your neck out is the first one that's going to go, and get all of the hell from it, right? The abuse, the government, the state, and so forth coming after you. Unstaffed drop boxes shall be monitored by a video security surveillance system. This is the law. And they tell us we're just following the law. But we have no drop boxes in California, in any county, that is being monitored 24/7 for the 29 days that these drop boxes are open. They say, well, the law says if feasible. So we need to get good and say, well, then where's the feasibility study? Is this going to cost us $200 to monitor them? Is it going to cost us $2,000, $20,000? If you haven't even done a feasibility study at the county level, then you're in violation of this California Code of Regulation. But we need to know these things. We need to know the laws, so when we go in and talk to our elected officials and they say, oh, don't worry about that, that's just over here, right? No, that's not what the law says. But when we don't know those things, then they're able to kind of circle the wagon, right, and just keep us kind of dizzy and spinning around and wondering, well, then what do we do? So this is part of where we want to change things. If we're going to use these election systems, and the state says we have to use these drop boxes, then we need to demand that they are actually under 24-hour video surveillance, open to the public so that we can see how these boxes are being interacted with. Why don't we want voting machines? It's really simple. It's made with code and source code that we don't get access to. They're made with parts and machines that we can't open up, and if we do, they're going to be decertified and not allowed to be used in our elections, and then that costs us tax dollars. This isn't transparency. This isn't openness for our elections. And it's so simple that if the Department of Defense and the Social Security Administration and Target and Verizon can all be hacked with billion-dollar budgets, I guarantee you our city elections aren't the only unhackable place on the planet. And this is the things that we need to know about these vulnerabilities. But don't take my statements wrong. I'm not saying these systems are creating fraud. I'm saying these are vulnerabilities that we don't have access to actually verify and audit ourselves. And so this is about taking our elections back and putting it more into our power. So what type of election systems do we want? Do we want one built on trust or one that's on transparency? Right now, this is what a summary version, if you can believe that, I know it doesn't look like a summary version, of the things that we have to deal with in our election systems. Are the voter rolls accurate from the state? Is VoteCal working? Only residents and citizens are voting? Counties are vetting VoteCal? Ensure ballots are printed, mailed, marked, returned, handled, inspected, duplicated, processed, tallied correctly? Quality control after those processes, signature match through 6 tiers of review, provisional ballots, conditional ballots, watch every part of the process, police every part of it, counting after election day, no results for weeks, 36 days of elections, and on and on and on. Or do we want to go back to vote with our neighbors, show up a couple blocks down the street at your neighbor's house, at a local library or fire station on one day? We show our ID, we sign a paper poll book, and we cast our ballot. This is the best part. After election night closes and the polls close, we go back to where we voted and we watch our neighborhood ballots be counted and tabulated together. Who wants this system or who wants this system? This is simple, this is easy, This takes days and weeks to be at the county processing center every day to learn, to be able to educate and share with others. I can tell this to a 95-year-old woman that's never been on the internet in 5 minutes, and she would understand exactly the simplicity and transparency of how their votes counted. The only thing we need to police here is, did our tabulation results for the county get recorded properly at the county, or for our precinct, get recorded properly at the county level? One thing to police, or all of this to police? No, we're not going to change this, unfortunately, in the state legislature or at the county level in most of our counties across the state. So what do we do? If cities like Huntington Beach have the constitutional right to fight and take back their elections, then we need to start to have cities go and take back their local elections. And that isn't going to be for every city, but the ones that we can accomplish that and show our local representation as constituents, that look how easy and simple the elections are that we've given to you, the people that we're supposed to be serving. And when we give those to you and we try to create a ballot measure later to change these election systems, either through a ballot measure or some other means, we at least have momentum built by people that are already voting this way to go, I don't understand what the big deal is. Like, this is how we always vote, like for our city and stuff. It's so simple. I just, a couple blocks down the street, I went and voted, I went back that night, I knew the results. Why do we have all this? Why do we have all this system? And the reason is because the state is passing laws and the county wants more money, bigger facilities, more people, and more equipment to be able to fulfill the needs of what the state is telling them to do. So if we can't change it at the legislature and the counties are too hard to change, the cities is where we have the opportunity to make a change. And that's where we really need to focus on over these next couple of years. Patriot Force California, we're a statewide organization, started in October of 2021. We focus on two things, really educating people on election integrity, our election systems, and what's the good, what's the bad, so that we can make a well-informed decision as the public on what direction we'd like to actually go. The second thing we do is promoting civic duty, and as it was mentioned earlier by, I think, all three mayors, the work starts now. This isn't, we got these great people elected into office and we get to go back to the American dream and everything we had before. Those days are over, ladies and gentlemen. At least for the foreseeable future, until we change this tide and momentum and expose evil to the light in such major ways where the rats and cockroaches start to spree and sprawl and hide from the darkness. We have a major spiritual battle that's going on in our country right now, and we've all experienced that over the past couple of years, both in a bad way and a good way. God has helped us see a lot in what's happened in our culture, right? And what's going on around our country. Cooperation, we've got to get these groups to cooperate together, but many of them have different agendas and missions. So we've got to be able to find the common ground areas, as the mayors were talking about, on where we can work together, and then the things that are particular about our organizations, make sure that those are still staying aligned with our overall mission. We've got to make an impact. We cannot have self-governance without self-governing. We say liberty and freedom over here, waving our flags, but as soon as we say accountability and responsibility, we're pointing at the government. We're the government. But we need to become the government again. And we need to take over all of these positions, from school board to city council to county positions, water board, sanitary, etc., with people that have common sense and are going to look at it from a perspective only of representing the constituents that are in those districts. How refreshing, right? If we could get that kind of really movement at local government, and to at least give us some sort of power and a voice at the local level if we live in a particularly tough county. The last thing is just, I already talked about working together there. These two are very important. Who here has taken a Constitution class before? Great, good job. The U.S. Constitution's easy, right? It's under 27, amendments, and the articles are pretty short. You can read it in an hour or something in the afternoon. Our California state constitution isn't anywhere like that. We have a couple of things really working for us. This is Article 2 under voting. And Scott, I'm happy to email my presentation to you. You can share it with anybody in your group if they'd like it to share with others. What we do is completely open source. Article 2, Section 1, and again, Article 2 is under voting. This is pretty specific language. All political power is inherent in the people. Is anybody confused on that language? The problem is, we're going in and asking for permission instead of respectfully demanding compliance. If government is supposed to serve us and work for us, then we need to treat them like our staff. And we don't go around, for those of us that run and own businesses, with rare occasion, we don't go around mistreating our staff, right? We're not yelling at them, we're not being disrespectful, we're not calling them names. So that's the same way that we need to treat the people that are in office, but we have to know the laws, and we have to be able to take a stand on where our rights are. So George, when there's an oath of office for you guys, is there a requirement in Torrance to actually study or read the Constitution, or anything before you can swear an oath? Is that part of like normal government?
I'm not aware of studying the Constitution.
And so if there isn't a requirement to study the Constitution, and that's not blaming George, but in the Constitution they swore an oath of office to, if we learn the Constitution, if we learn these laws, then we can use those when we have difficult servant representation. I've met with George, he's amazing. I look forward to meeting with both Bill and John, hopefully in the future. But not everybody is like George, John, and Bill. And so we've got to learn these tools that we have as citizens of California. All political power is inherent in the people. I'd like to start the meeting with that. I'd just like to establish, we have every right to be here today respectfully. You're supposed to work for us. It says in our California Constitution that Article 2, Section 1, we have all the power. And do that in a nice, not shoving it down their throat way, but it's a way to go and establish that we're here. We have a right to ask these questions and be here redressing our grievances. Article 2, Section 2.5. This is really important for us, again, under voting. A voter who casts a vote in an election in accordance with the laws of this state shall have that vote counted. So in this one here that I showed you, look at all those processes that we have to police and be aware of and watch and observe in order to know that our ballot was counted. And even then, when we go and cast our ballot, we're not getting a receipt, right? It says, here's what you voted for. Here's your results, your personal results. So Article 2, Section 2.5, everyone has a right to have that ballot counted. That other system is the only one that actually guarantees that right. Where you get to go count your own neighborhood ballots with your neighbors that you voted with. Your neighbors are running it, you see them, you're voting with them, and you go back and tabulate all your results. So if this is in our California Constitution, we have to know that our current systems for elections cannot guarantee us this right. They want us to pay $1 million for recounts and to go back and do all these processes and systems. And if we were voting locally, we'd just go get the folder from your precinct where everyone voted on those 637 ballots and recount 637 ballots, and your neighborhood would go back home and go, okay, it was right on election night. We feel good. Our vote was counted. Does that make sense? Okay. So what you need to know, what you can do about it, these are the three pillars here, really. Build community, educate each other, and stay committed. This community is so awesome that we're building, isn't it?
Yeah.
That loves God, that loves our country, that's willing to speak up, that's willing to take action and willing to do something for our local governance, for our kids, and for our country. And so with this educating each other is about our laws. It's about our election systems. It's about the way we empower each other so that when we take action that we're effective in whatever these particular ventures that we're looking for. And then staying committed, of course, to our family, business, to our faith community, to church, to God, to our country. These are the things that this is not going to be easy in California, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say just one more election and we're going to have all this figured out. But we have built so much momentum over the past 4 years. Look how much we know about all of these institutions of government and there's ways that our elections are being handled, and our food supply, and our kids, and all of these aspects in just a few short years. It's taken them over 100 to get here. So if we stay committed to each other and in this fight and continue to build this community, sometimes one person at a time, eventually we're going to have the momentum that can't be stopped. You know, we had Central Committee races in the primary for this year. That's how we pick our local chapter leaders, right, for our county chapters for GOP. We had a major success all across the state, but Ventura County, just northwest of you guys here, they swept all 19 Central Committee seats. There is not one person establishment that is in those seats in Ventura County. So think about what they're going to be able to do and after January of 2025 when they all get seated. So the action plan, take back our city councils. You have great city council members here tonight, but we have 400 and something city councils all across the state. And we've got to start to work towards taking those back so that they can fight for us like these gentlemen continue to do. How many here knew who was running for your city council in the election?
City council,
Yeah,
not central committee?
city council, sorry. Who knew was, and so all of our hands really should be raised
All of it.
if we're looking at those local races as our local power.
And that's
Right.
what we're here for.
That's right, absolutely.
That's why we want you guys.
Yep. We think it's best to focus on the charter cities for now because they have constitutional power to do things that other general law cities don't particularly have. And if we don't know which are charter cities, you can even find them on Google, just charter cities in California. And then you can look throughout LA County and see Downey, Redondo Beach, Torrance, and some other great cities that you have in LA County that we can start to spread that word and help educate others. Demand more from our elected officials. I think that's pretty straightforward. Kickstart your communities. This one here, make a decision. This is my dear friend Jan Averill. She's 88 years old. She lives in the La Habra Heights area. When we were knocking on all those doors I mentioned earlier, she drives 3 cities away to come and knock on doors at 88 years old. She was on the school board for 26 years. And her just passion and love for God and for this country, it's almost unmatched. And so we need to make a decision starting today that if we're frustrated, let's turn that into action. If we don't know what to do, let's find someone to talk to, let's find a group, but let's educate and empower each other and actually start to take action and make a decision. And if it's not your day today to make a decision, that's okay. But know that what change is going to happen in our state, in our county, and in this country is going to be from us becoming the government again and us being involved in our government and actually taking these systems and institutions of government back one step at a time. And thank God President Trump was elected into office with the likes of RFK, for our health, for Elon Musk, with the government efficiency.
I voted for the team.
I'm more excited about that. Like, I would love that we kept Kamala out, but seriously, like, we've got Elon and Tulsi and Vivek and RFK. What an amazing outcome for our country.
Yeah, I voted for the team.
So we won't touch on this much, but there was a lot about, do we vote in person, do we vote by mail, do we vote early, do we vote on election day? This is what we should have told everybody. Vote. Just vote. There's pros and cons to both sides, but let's vote and encourage others to vote. And the increased participation that we got across California in the United States changed about a 5 million vote delta for President Trump to less than about 2 million or 2.5 million. And instead of him losing the popular vote in our country, he crushed it.
Yes, he did.
People came out to vote in mass all across this country. And we stole their narrative of the Electoral College is disenfranchising voters, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Isn't that an amazing accomplishment?
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful thing for our country. Ballot harvesting is legal here. We need to increase voter participation. We do have people that don't show up and vote in every election, and I think in this group we've probably all experienced them. We need to encourage people to register to vote and participate. Very good at overcoming rejections. If this whole system's this bad, if it's all rigged, why even bother to vote? I hear that a lot. And here's my response. You know, I used to feel the exact same way that you did. But you know what I found out? There's thousands of people across this state alone that are giving tens and tens of thousands of hours of their precious time to try and fix these systems. You know what they're asking you to do? Take an hour or less and go vote. Do you think you can do that and be committed to that 1 hour of your life to go vote, while these people are giving so much of their precious time to trying to save our state and fix these processes? That's the type of ways that we need to communicate with each other when they come with these rejections or this kind of hopelessness, right? We change hopelessness by action and all sticking together. These are Fix Californians down there. Take a quick drink of water. So, is our country at war? Yes, we are in a spiritual battle. Marjorie Taylor Greene put together this list a couple of months ago, and this was on her Instagram here, and as I was reading it and studying it and going over it, something struck me. That it doesn't have, that we've grown more secular and moved away from God.
Can you go back to that list?
Huh?
That was such a long list. Just really quick.
No problem.
Yeah, it's sad that it's so long, but thank you for sharing it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So number 26, we're more secular and have moved away from God. In 2007, we were about 16% secular, and now here we are in 2024, 28% secular. But who here feels like there's been a spiritual awakening over this last year or two, right? And I think when they pull this again here in another 10 years, we're going to see a major shift back towards faith and a love for God. History repeats itself. Human history repeats itself. We can see it all throughout the history books, throughout the ages of every great empire. And as I was working in my warehouse one day, I heard this song come on. I heard the word election before 2020. It wouldn't have really meant much to me, but after 2020, I heard this song, the word election. It's from Jimmy Messina and Kenny Loggins back from 1971. And so these words rang so true to me about, oh my God, we knew this stuff, but yet we keep having the same cycles of history. So look at these words. When we give them the election, they keep filling our heads full of lies. Does that sound familiar? Right? Not you, George, and John, and Bill. Can we trust in new direction when their promises are in disguise? Someday the truth will catch up. I just hope it don't catch us all by surprise. We preach this thing religion, but we show no faith at all. We follow suit on Sunday, and on Monday we forget it all. Should the times find us needing Him, then my friends, Lord, have mercy on our soul. How profound about the times we're living in today. And you know what's wonderful about this? Is that we're writing history now.
Yes.
In 10 or 20 years from now, people are going to read about the greatest American awakening in the history of our country, and a movement back towards individual liberty and an appreciation for God who gave us this opportunity, and to have everyone actually have the same rights. But if you lay a hand on our kids, the gloves are coming off. Right? Yes. All right. So what's the rightful place of government? I'm just about wrapped up here, and I can do a couple questions. Thomas Paine, one of the founders of our country, didn't sign the Declaration of Independence, but was part of the founders, said society in every state's a blessing. Not like Arkansas, California, like good state, bad state, right? Society in every state is a blessing. But government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil. And in its worst state, an intolerable one. Who here feels that we are pretty close to intolerance or might have already passed that?
It's already there.
This is from one of the founders that talks about government should be this much bigger than it needs to be. And it has expanded and expanded and expanded at the, what was it, 100 and some thousand employees? 115,000 in LA County. And it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And so these are the things that we've got to get back to, is making government be in its rightful place. My commitment to you, my precious time, just like the founders of our country, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Imagine saying this as 56 people, telling the largest military power on the planet at the time, we've had enough. and we're willing to die, you can take our farms, our lands, you can muddy our name. Nothing is going to compare to us giving up this opportunity for liberty. These people were absolutely insightful, and so I have traveled up and down the state for the past few years to learn these election systems and be able to help educate citizens and empower them to do their civic duty. And so I thank you all so much for giving me some of your precious time this evening.